I was so glad and grateful to get to take part in the No Kings rally yesterday in Montpelier, Vermont. And I was so proud and honestly kind of amazed that apparently with all the rallies that took place around the country, something like 2,700 of them in huge cities and in small towns, that there appears to have been no violence, no injuries, no skirmishes. Even with all the powerful feelings that this situation engenders in people, even with the threat of our democracy being taken over and basic rights being taken away, not the threat, the reality, people being rounded up on the streets at places of work and hauled away to God only knows where. Even with all that justified frustration and built up anger, that the rallies remain peaceful and respectful and even joyful. It's a testament to me to all the people who worked so hard to organize these rallies and to bring people together and to encourage people to bring their peaceful nature to this and to be creative and to be forceful, but not to resort to the temptation of violence, which would just feed into the narrative of the people who were looking for us to be violent, looking for us to be unreasonable, looking for us to be on the crazy side of things. So good on you, all you people, including my cousin Sue, who was a marshal in the rally in St. Johnsbury, Vermont. Thank you to all of you who organized this and put thought and effort and love and creativity into making it happen. At the same time, even as I was there, even as I was feeling all the energy in the crowd and the power of what was happening, I could tell that there was something in this meal that was going to be missing for me. And I don't mean this as any kind of criticism or complaint about what happened, because I think what happened was beautiful and probably exactly as it needed to be. But there's a deeper something that I feel about this situation and about these issues and about the collapse of our culture that we're facing, that it's very difficult to put into words, but I want to try to take a crack at it today. And I'm going to start with a story about something that happened to me while I was in prison. I spent just over 4 years in federal prison in Raybrook FCI, Federal Correctional Institution near Lake Placid, New York. And in the last year of my incarceration, I was assigned the job of working on the outside landscaping crew outside the fences of the prison. And it meant that I plowed snow in the guards' parking lot and cut the grass, everything that was outside the fences of the prison. And when I'd been out there for a little while and gotten to know my boss, it was just a really hard-working guy from the woods, and was running this outside landscaping crew. And I noticed that there were chainsaws in the shop, and I grew up on a tree farm, and I said, look, I grew up with a chainsaw in my hands. If you want me to do some work out here, just let me at it, and I'll go right at it. And once he decided he trusted me with a chainsaw, he helped me, get it fired up, and I sharpened it and got it all ready to go. And I worked like a beaver. I trimmed branches, and I went down to this place where there was a training center for the guards and staff, an obstacle course, and it was in this little grove, looked kind of like a gravel pit, but it had trees around it, not all that different than what's here right now. And I learned that I kind of knew that in prison, if you work hard and stay out of trouble and don't bother people, that the guards will kind of leave you alone. So once in a while, a guard would drive around the circle down in the training center just to make sure I was staying out of trouble. And I worked for weeks and months, and I thinned out a whole woods of white pine trees and turned it into a grove, and I bucked up the wood into lengths and split it so somebody could use it for firewood. And then eventually I got to I felt like I had earned, and I knew I had earned the goodwill of the guards, that if I just sat for a while at the end of a workday, that nobody was going to bother me. So I sat on the edge of this field with woods all around it. I would finish up, I would work a hard morning, and then sometime after lunch in the early afternoon, I would just sit down either on the little yard tractor I had or right on the ground leaning up against a tree. And I spent hours just looking at the trees around this field, just watching them. I wasn't meditating. I wasn't thinking about anything. I was just sitting there and feeling the beauty of this simple, humble place. And I remember I began to get fascinated as I watched the leaves in the wind, just dancing in the wind. And I realized that I've always thought of wind, and maybe a lot of people do, as something that's, the wind is blowing from the east or the wind is blowing from the west. And I watched, and I realized and I noticed that the leaves at the top of the tree could be blown in one direction, and halfway down they could be blowing in a whole different direction. And at the bottom they might not be blowing at all. And then it would all change, and there was this whole dance of the wind and the leaves. And it kind of messes it up even to put it into words, but I was fascinated. I was enthralled. And though at the time I would not have used this word, but I just felt the sacredness of it. Just this simple, natural, unremarkable. It wasn't a beautiful vista. It was just trees around a training facility for guards at a prison. That was it. But the leaves were amazing. And the sunlight coming and going and filtering through the trees, and the way the wind danced everything up and down. And I sat there for hours, day after day. And I didn't need to do anything else. I didn't need a phone. I didn't need to listen to something. I didn't need to meditate. I was in prison. I was kind of bathed in the sacredness of what was right around this prison facility. And it's something I never forgot, and something I've done many times since I got out of prison, just sitting and looking. It's not meditation. It's not religious. It's not spiritual. It's not anything. There's no word to put on it. It's just a simple reconnection with the sacredness of life that's right here all the time. And I don't think that the No Kings rally I don't think we should have a rally for sacredness. I don't think that's not going to work. The way that we find sacredness in life is completely individual. It's completely unique to each one of us. But what I found for myself in simply allowing myself to be, there was no end goal in this. There was no, I want to tell about this, or I want to write about this. I want to go in and tell all my other inmates. I want to go tell the other guards. There was nothing like that. It just softened me. Something fundamental in me softened at a very deep level. And I don't think we should bring religion or spirituality or woo or whatever you want to call it into the No Kings rally or into this, whatever this fight to save democracy is. But I realized that there was nothing in that event that was feeding that particular source for me. And it's a kind of depth. It's a kind of deeper, quieter. There was a tremendous amount of energy and enthusiasm and, some anger, but excitement and camaraderie there. But for me, what informs the way that I interact with politics, the way that I interact with my fellow humans now, the way that I interact with life, is that deeper, quieter connection to the sacred in me, to the sacred in this life that's all around us, to the sacredness in each other. And we lose our way when we try to impose that or force that on somebody else. That's not what it's about at all. But to me, political answers are very limited. I'm 68 years old. I've lived through Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter and Michael Dukakis and Democratic caucuses and the Tea Party, Democratic Congresses and the Tea Party and this and that, and all the political solutions come and go. We're at a point now where, my God, we look back and call Ronald Reagan a president that we feel pretty good about. I lived through Ronald Reagan's administration. It was not something that it was not honest. It did not have integrity. These were not the good old days. Saving this kind of democracy, as I've said before, it's probably a lot better to have a mediocre democracy than a thriving autocracy. But let's not stop with trying to salvage a system, a democracy, a way of life, a way of relating to each other, a judicial system, a political system, a financial system. Let's not stop with trying to salvage something or save something that was never really that great to begin with. Again, this is not to have rallies about this. This is not to impose this or even talk very much about it, because the connection to the sacred isn't about words. It's something that happens very individually, very deeply, and very quietly to each and every one of us, each in our own way. It may happen in nature. If it happens through a religious tradition for you, great. If it happens in meditation, great. If it happens when you wake up in the middle of the night and feel deeply into something and feel some kind of sacred presence in your life, great. Whatever it is, it can come from anywhere. It can come anytime, in any way, in countless ways. So by all means, let's continue to speak up about injustice. Let's continue to speak up about the untruths that are being forced down our throats day in and day out, both very personally impacting our lives, very dramatically impacting the lives of our neighbors and our communities and our whole country. Let's speak out about all of this. And let's each of us find that connection to the sacred, to the quiet, to the simple, to the depth and the beauty of what we are, no matter what is happening all around us. I don't know what that will look like for you, and I don't have any sense of what it should look like for you or for anyone else. What I do know from personal experience is that simple, wordless, deep, quiet connection to the sacred, however it happens, informs and softens and motivates me in every aspect of my life, in every interaction I have with another human being, in every thought and decision I have about what I should do or what I'm moved to do in terms of this political situation and the cultural collapse that's happening all around us. That is what motivates me. That's what moves me. And I invite each and all of us, as we're doing the societal work, the political work, the organizing work, whatever you want to call it, and whatever shape it takes for you, as we're doing that, to connect to that deeper, quieter, sacred place within, so that whatever we do is informed not by the shallowness of what's happening on the surface, but by the depth of what we all know and remember somewhere deep within us. Thank you for listening.